Hi guys, it's Izzy, and in today's video we're going to be doing my 2020 anticipated releases. I always loved watching these videos because I never knew what was coming out in the year, so I was always so excited to watch these videos to know what the releases that were coming out. But this year I'm doing it myself, so wow, look at me go. I actually researched. Who am I? But yeah, I've got 32 releases I'm excited for this year, so we're gonna speed through them as quickly as possible. They're mainly sequels to books sequels to series that I read and love, and new fantasy series which I'm really excited for, and a lot of queer rom-coms, which we're being blessed in the year of 2020, let me tell you. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. I will be doing these in chronological order because I'm just that great. There are 3 books at the end which don't have official release dates that are just 2020, so I'll just do those at the end. But yeah, the rest of them are in chronological order, so you're welcome. First book coming out on the 14th of January is Infinity Sun by Adam Silvera. This is the start of a new fantasy series and I'm very excited for it. I do like Adam Silvera's writing. Up till now he's only done contemporaries, but he's putting his foot into fantasy. This is also a queer fantasy because he only writes queer novels, so I'm pretty excited for this. A lot of these books I'm just going to be reading the Goodreads descriptions because I obviously have not read them, don't own them, so that's what we're going to be doing unless they're sequels. So this is about 2 brothers caught up in a magical war generations in the making. Growing up in New York, brothers Emil and Brighton always idolised the Spellwakers, a vigilante group sworn to rid the world of spectres. While the Spellwakers and other Celestials are born with powers, spectres take them violently, stealing the essence of endangered magical creatures. Brighton wishes he had a power so he could join the fray. Emil just wants the fighting to stop. The cycle of violence has taken a toll, making it harder for anyone with a power to live peacefully and openly. In this climate of fear, a gang of spectres has been growing bolder by the day. Then, in a brawl after a protest, Emil manifests a power of his own, one that puts him right at the heart of the conflict and sets him up to be the heroic spellwalker Brighton always wanted to be. Brotherhood, love and loyalty will be put to the test and no one will escape the fight unscathed. So this sounds quite political in its fantasiness, and I love a political fantasy, so I'm super excited for this. I love a sibling bond and I love magical powers, so this is looking good for me. So yay. The next book is coming out on the 21st of January, and that is The Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson. This is the 3rd and final book in the Truly Devious trilogy. This is a mystery trilogy that follows our main character who goes to this boarding school which is for special students who have who are really good at something specific. She is really into true crime, and when she gets to this school she decides that her project is going to be solving this crime that happened 50 years ago, where the man who created and funded the school's wife and daughter were kidnapped and never found again, and so she is trying to solve that crime while there are some mysterious crimes happening in present day. So I'm super excited for the conclusion. I wasn't a massive fan of the first book, but I loved the second book, and I feel like the 3rd book we're going to get all the answers, so I'm really excited for this book. Obviously I can't tell you what the 3rd book is specifically going to be about because it's the 3rd book, no spoilers, but I am really excited for the conclusion of this novel. And let's be real, the book I'm going to be the most excited about, and I'm not going to stop talking about for the entirety of 2020, is King of Crows by Libba Bray. Yes, that is coming out on the 4th of February and I'm not ready. My body is not prepared. No words. No words. If you don't know, this is the 4th and final book in the Diviner series, which is my favourite series of all time. It follows a group of teenagers who are living in New York in the roaring 20s, and they have magical powers, and there's like this demon thing, and there's just so many plot lines. Like, you cannot explain the plot of this series. Just read it. Read it before February so that you can read the final book, because I have been waiting well over like a year and a half for this book, and I'm gonna die. Like, this is my most anticipated release by far, so I'm so excited. The next book coming out on the 6th of February is Heartstopper Volume 3 by Alice Oseman. Again, I'm a massive fan of this series, so I'm really looking forward to this release. This is a graphic novel series that follows our two main characters, Nick and Charlie, as they meet in senior school and become friends, become more than friends. It's the purest graphic novel to ever exist. The art is super cute. I have volume 2 here, so you can see it's super cute, and they're also very aesthetic. I love the new cover. It's going to have a green spine, which I love, and also I have the signed and doodled copy of this, so I love it. And I've also ordered the signed and doodled copy of Volume 3. I pre-ordered it as soon as it was available to pre-order, so I'm an Alice Oseman stan first and a person second. I'm gonna take my cardigan off because it is hot in here. Do you like my my reindeer t-shirt? It's got little reindeers on it. I told you I'm only wearing Christmassy things because I've got a whole wardrobe of Christmassy things and I need to get through them, so yeah. But we're taking the cardigan off because I'm hot, so there we go. And it's whimsical, it's magical, it's the most wonderful, warming series ever. If you have to read it. And I'm so excited for the third book to come out because I loved the first book, I loved the second book even more, so I'm hoping that the third book just gets even better, if that's possible. I don't know if it is, but I'm sure Jessica Townsend can do it. Oh, and that's coming out on the 6th of February, if I didn't say. On the 25th of February, we unleash the Merciless Storm. This is the sequel to We Set the Dark on Fire, which I read and really enjoyed in 2019, and it follows this kind of like dystopian world where women are kind of brought up to serve men, basically. There's 2 women to each man, one who does specific work, like one who does the business side and like runs the household, and the other who is more there for like the loving part of marriage. And basically this follows 2 girls who go into this household, Carmen and the other one who I also can't remember the name of. I read this a while ago, okay? And basically they're in the same household, they kind of hate each other, but then they kind of like each other, and then they kind of really like each other, and it's so great. I love them so much. It's such a good book. There's like a rebellion plot line, like it's some good stuff. I highly recommend it. I don't think it gets talked about enough, and it's a really good book. And if you're fans of feminist books that focus quite a lot on like sexism and then feminism, I would highly recommend it. And also if you're a fan of a rebellion plotline, then give it a go. It's some good stuff. I say I'm doing this in chronological order. I accidentally messed those 2 up. That's coming out on the 25th. On the 20th of February, what's coming out is Shoreful, which is the sequel to Foundryside by Robert Jackson Bennett. I'm also so excited for this book. This Foundryside was probably one of my favourite books of the year, probably top 5. I loved it so much, and I'm so excited for this sequel. Foundryside follows our main character, Sansia, I think is how you say it, and it's set in a fantasy world, and she is asked to pull off a heist to find this object in the like dockyard, I think, and she doesn't know what it is. She just knows she's gonna get paid a lot of money for it, so she does the job, and then finds out that what she's stolen is a talking key, and that sets her off down a very exciting and adventurous path, because what she has is very valuable and everyone wants it. And also this magic system works it's called scriving, and basically you can write like magical coding onto objects to make them have different properties. Like you can make wood have the properties of stone, you can make wheels think there's more gravity so they'll go faster, etc, etc. It's a really cool magic system, really detailed, and really just, I loved learning about it, and I'm so excited for the second book because it really left us on a cliffhanger. Also, I feel like there might be a female-female romance coming, and if there is, I'm gonna be like, if this fantasy couldn't get any better, are we gonna be blessed with a female-female romance? Maybe. Okay, I say I'm doing this in chronological order, but apparently there's about 6 million books coming out in February and I got them mixed up. So the final book coming out in February, which is coming out on the 11th of February, so just ignore the fact that I said I was doing this chronologically. I apparently can't figure that out in February. The rest of it will be chronological, but I'm dumb, so. And that is The Mercies by Kieran Millwood Hargrave. I have one of her books here that I'm really excited to get to, The Deathless Girls, which I'm super excited about, and this book just sounds incredible. I'll read you what it says. After a storm has killed off the island's men, 2 women in a 1600s Norwegian coastal village struggle to survive against both natural forces and the men who have been sent to rid the community of alleged witchcraft. Finnmark, Norway, 1617. 20-year-old Maren Bergensdatter stands on the craggy coast watching the sea break into a sudden and reckless storm. 40 fishermen, including her brother and father, are drowned and left broken on the rocks below. With the menfolk wiped out, the women of the tiny northern town of Vardo must fend for themselves. 3 years later, a sinister figure arrives. Absalom Cornet comes from Scotland, where he burned witches in the Northern Isles. He brings with him his young Norwegian wife, Ursa, who is both heady with her husband's authority and terrified by it. In Vardo and in Maren, Ursa sees something she has never seen before, independent women, but Absalom sees only a place untouched by God and flooded with mighty evil. As Maren and Ursa are pushed together and drawn to one another in ways that surprise them both, the island begins to close in on them, with Absalom's iron rule threatening Vardo's very existence. Inspired by the real events of the Vardo storm and the 1620 witch trials, The Mercies is a feminist story of love, evil, and obsession set at the edge of civilization. Sorry, did you just say the best book ever? I'm excited. And on the 3rd of March, When We Were Magic by Sarah Galley is coming out. This is a book that is about witches, I think. A sly, witchy, dark comedy about 4 teens whose magic goes wildly awry, from Magic for Liars author Sarah Galley. Keeping your magic a secret is hard. Being in love with your best friend is even harder. Alexis has always been able to rely on 2 things, her best friends and the magic powers they all share. The secret is what brought them together, and their love for each other is unshakable, even when that love is complicated. Complicated by problems like jealousy or insecurity or lust or love. That unshakable, complicated love is one of the only things that doesn't change on prom night. When accidental magic goes sideways and a boy winds up dead, Alexis and her friends come together to try to right a terrible wrong. Their first attempt fails, and their second attempt fails even harder. Left with the remains of their failed spells and more consequences than anyone could have predicted, each of them must find a way to live with their part of the story. Witches, queer romance, I'm in. Also on the 3rd of March is Only Most Devastated by Sophie Gonzalez. This is pitched as Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda meets Clueless inspired by Greece. I need to say no more. That's like the magic recipe for me. I love Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda. I love Clueless, and I love Greece. So I'm sold. I'm good. The next book coming out that I'm excited for is on the 6th of April, and that is Queen of Coin and Whispers by Helen Corcoran, and this is a new fantasy series which I also believe is female. The Lord has blessed us in 2020, I swear to God. She loved me as I loved her, fierce as a bloodied blade. When teenage Queen Leah inherits her corrupt uncle's bankrupt kingdom, she brings a new spy master into the fold, Zania, who takes a job to avenge her murdered father. Faced with dangerous plots and hidden enemies, can Leah and Zania learn to rely on each other as they discover that all is not fair in love and treason. In a world where the throne means both power and duty, they must decide what to sacrifice for their country and for each other. I'm down. Like, I'm so ready. Then on the 17th of April is Late to the Party by, what is your name? Kelly Quinlan, I think is how you say it. And this is a rom-com, I think. 17 is nothing like Cody Teller imagined. She's never crashed a party, never stayed out too late, she's never been kissed, and it's not just because she's gay, it's because she and her two best friends, Maritza and Corey, spend more time in her basement watching Netflix than engaging with the outside world. Well, that's a mood. So when Maritza and Corey suggest crashing a party, Cody is highly sceptical. Those parties aren't for kids like them, they're for cool kids, straight kids. But then Cody stumbles upon one of those cool kids, Ricky, kissing another boy in the dark, and an unexpected friendship is formed. In return for never talking about that kiss, Ricky takes Cody under his wing and draws her into a wild summer filled with late nights, new experiences, and one really cute girl named Lydia. The only problem? Cody never tells Maritza or Corey about any of it. A poignant and deeply relatable story about friendship, self-acceptance, what it means to be a real teenager. Late to the Party is an ode to late bloomers and wallflowers everywhere. Well, I'm a late bloomer and a wallflower, so yay. And this synopsis really reminded me of the movie Booksmart, which I really loved, and so that's like what made me so excited for it, because it sounded like basically like the book version of that, so I'm super excited for it. Then on the 30th of April, Loveless by Alice Oseman is coming out. Yes, I've already pre-ordered this as well. I pre-ordered it like 6 months ago. Not 6 months ago. A few months ago. I'm ready for it. This is Alice Oseman's take on a character who is asexual and aromantic, and basically their journey as they're in university and, you know, making friends and kind of discovering her identity and figuring out that she can have a full life without society's norm, basically. And I'm so excited for this, like, and I know this is really personal to Alice Oseman's heart, and I'm just so excited to read it. I just know that it's going to be incredible. And also on the 30th of April is The Girl and the Stars by Mark Lawrence. And this is a new fantasy series. In the ice east of the Black Rock, there is a hole into which broken children are thrown. On Abath, the vastness of the ice holds no room for individuals. Survival together is barely possible. No one survives alone. To resist the cold, to endure the months of night when even the air itself begins to freeze, requires a special breed. Variation is dangerous, difference is fatal, and Yaz is not the same. Yaz is torn from the only life she's ever known, away from her family, from the boy she thought she would spend her days with, and has to carve out a new path for herself in a world whose existence she never suspected. A world full of difference and mystery and danger. Yaz learns that Abath is older and stranger than she had ever imagined. She learns that her weaknesses are another kind of strength, and she learns to challenge the cruel arithmetic of survival that has always governed her people. Only when it's darkest you can see the stars. I'm sold. These books all sound amazing. I am going to be poor in 2020, so love that for me. Then on the 12th of May is The Henna Wars by Adiba Jagirda. I'm sorry I butchered that, I can't pronounce it. I'm sorry, it'll be on the book cover. And this sounds so good. It's like a female enemies to lovers situation, and it's described as when Dimple met Rishi meets Simon versus the Homo sapien agenda in this rom-com about two teen girls with rival henna businesses. I don't need to read any more of the description. If that's not sold you, what will? What will? This cover, that's what will sell you, because I just needed to look at the cover to want to read it. Also on the 12th of May is The Fascinators by Andrew Eliopoulos. This is just going to be a video of me butchering everyone's names. I apologise. I have a very simple name, so I'm not good at pronunciation. And this is a YA debut pitched as The Raven Boys meets Simon vs. the Homo sapiens agenda. Sorry, how many times are we going to compare something to Simon versus the Homo sapien agenda? There are other rom-com books, guys, come on, get more creative. I mean, I know that's like a popular book, but do we need to describe everything as that book? And this is about an openly gay high school senior in small town Georgia. He may or may not be in love with his best friend, and his hopes for his last year of school are thrown off course when old secrets, new crushes, and a brush with dark magic threatens his close-knit group of friends. I'm in. sounds incredible. Raven Cycle, I'm in. Close-knit group of friends, I'm in. Friends to lovers, I am in. Magical realism, I am in. I'm in for all of it. I'm so excited for this book. Also on the 12th of May, don't know why the 12th of May is such a popular publishing date, but on the 12th of May, The Summer of Impossibilities by Rachel Allen is coming out, and Skylar, Ellie, Scarlett and Amelia Grace are forced to spend the summer at the lake house where their mums became best friends. One can't wait. One would rather gnaw off her own arm than hang out with a bunch of strangers just so their mums can drink too much wine and sing Journey to 2 o'clock in the morning. 2 are sisters, 3 are currently feuding with their mothers, 1 almost sets her crush on fire with a flaming marshmallow, 2 steal the boat for a midnight joyride that goes horribly awkwardly wrong, all of them are hiding something, 1 falls in love with a boy she thought she despised, 2 fall in love with each other, none of them are same at the end of the summer. Why are all these books sounding incredible? Like, literally I need all of them and I cannot afford this. They all sound incredible. Is anyone else as hyped as I am for these books? Because I am so hyped. On the 14th of May, Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo comes out. Not gonna lie, I added this to the list just because it's Elizabeth Acevedo and she's a master writer. So I didn't even need to read the synopsis, but I'll read it to you in case you want to know what it's about, in case Elizabeth Acevedo isn't enough to sway you, which it should be, so, you know. Basically, this follows 2 sisters whose father dies in a plane crash. I don't believe either of them know about each other, so they kind of discover each other through this tragedy and have to deal with the grief, deal with finding each other, navigating that relationship. Sounds very hard-hitting, very beautiful, a story of sisterhood. I'm in. Then on the 19th of May, The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins is coming out, and this is a prequel to The Hunger Games following Mag's year in The Hunger Games. Mags is the old lady in Catching Fire, if you don't remember, and yeah, this follows her Hunger Games experience. That's all we know so far. Couldn't be more excited. I've waited for Suzanne Collins to publish something for years at this point, and I'm so excited. I trust her, and it's like over 500 pages and my body is ready. Then on the 26th of May, the day before my birthday, I Kissed Alice by Anna Birch is coming out. This is another female rom-com which I'm super excited for. It sounds incredible. This is, again, for the fans of Simon vs. the Homo sapiens agenda and Fangirl. I Kissed Alice is a romantic comedy about enemies, lovers and everything in between. Rhodes and Ileana couldn't be more different, but that's not why they hate each other. Hyper-gifted artist Rhodes has always excelled at Alabama's Conservatory of the Arts, despite a secret bout of creator's block, while transfer student Ileana tries to outshine everyone with her intense competitive work ethic. Since only one of them can get the coveted capstone scholarship, the competition between them is fierce. They both escape the pressure on a fanfic site where they were unknowingly collaborating on a graphic novel, and despite being worst enemies in real life, their anonymous online identities, I Kissed Alice and Curious in Cheshire, are starting to like each other a lot. When the truth comes out, will they destroy each other's future? Sorry, Genius Girls, fanfic, female romance, enemies to lovers. If you're not sold, who are you? Who hurt you? Because this sounds incredible. Also on the 26th of May, so my birthday is going to be good, is The Paper Girl of Paris by Jordan Taylor. I am really into historical fiction at the moment, especially World War II historical fiction, and this book sounds right up my alley. This is 16-year-old Alice is spending the summer in Paris, but she isn't there for pastries and walks along the Seine. When her grandmother passed away 2 months ago, she left Alice in an apartment in France that no one knew existed, an apartment that has been locked for more than 70 years. Alice is determined to find out why the apartment was abandoned and why her grandmother never once mentioned the family she left behind when she moved to America after World War II. With the help of Paul, a charming Parisian student, she sets out to uncover the truth. However, the more time she spends digging through the mysteries of the past, the more she realises there are secrets in the present that her family is still refusing to talk about. Then, 16-year-old Adeline doesn't recognise Paris anymore. Everywhere she looks there are Nazis, and every day brings a new horror of life under the occupation. When she meets Luke, the dashing and enigmatic leader of a resistance group, Adeline feels she finally has a chance to fight back, but keeping up the appearance of being a much admired socialite while working to undermine the Nazis is more complicated than she could have imagined. As the war goes on, Adeline finds herself having to make more and more compromises to her safety, to her reputation, and to her relationships with the people she loves the most. I'm in. Then on the 2nd of June, A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown is coming out. This is a new fantasy series which I'm super excited for. For 17-year-old refugee Malik Halali, the week-long festival of Solstasia is a chance to escape his poverty-stricken life for a new one in the prosperous desert city of Ziran. But just as he reaches the city's gates, a vengeful spirit kidnaps his younger sister and offers him a deal, her freedom in exchange for the death of Crown Princess Karina Almorahad before Solstasia ends. With nothing but his own wits and dark magic he barely understands, Malik disguises himself as a nobleman and enters Solstasia to compete for Karina's hand in marriage, the perfect opportunity to assassinate her. But the night before Solstasia begins, an assassin murders Karina's mother, and she inherits a court that threatens mutiny. Grief-stricken and distrustful of everyone around her, Karina resorts to using forbidden magic to bring her mother back from the dead. But resurrection comes at a steep cost, and this ritual requires sacrificing her future husband, the winner of Solstasia. Over a week of heart-pounding celebrations and dazzling displays of magic, an unlikely bond forms between Karina and Malik, as their interactions force them to question everything they thought they knew about their world. But though they're more alike than their enemies would have them believe, both are willing to do whatever it takes to save the ones they love, even if they destroy each other. A Song of Wraith and Ruin is an own voices YA fantasy inspired by West and North African folklore, perfect for fans of Saboteur and Ember in the Ashes, Tomi Adeyemi's Children of Blood and Bone, and Leigh Bardugo's Grishaverse books. While I love An Ember in the Ashes and the Grishaverse books, I haven't read Children of Blood and Bone yet, but this sounds amazing and I'm very excited for it. On the 9th of June, Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas comes out, and that is about Yadriel has summoned a ghost and now he can't get rid of him. When his traditional Latinx family has problems accepting his gender, Yadriel becomes determined to prove himself a real brujo. With the help of his cousin and his best friend Maritza, he performs a ritual himself and then sets out to find the ghost of his murdered cousin and set it free. However, the ghost he summons is actually Julian Diaz, the school's resident bad boy, and Julian is not about to go quietly into death. He's determined to find out what happened and tie up some loose ends before he leaves. Left with no choice, Yadriel agrees to help Julian so that they can both get what they want, but the longer Yadriel spends with Julian, the less he wants to let him leave. I am so hyped for all these books. They all sound so good. Like, were they written for me? Yes. Then on the 23rd of June, Sisters of Sword and Song is coming out, and that is by Rebecca Ross. This is a thrilling YA standalone fantasy, which is always nice to have an actual standalone fantasy rather than embarking on like a 5-book fantasy series. And this follows the unbreakable bond between sisters. After 8 long years, Evadne will finally be reunited with her older sister Halcyon. Why are these names so confusing? Who has been proudly serving in the Queen's army, but when Halcyon appears earlier than expected, Eva knows something has gone terribly wrong. Halcyon is on the run, hunted by her commander and charged with murder. Though Halcyon's life is spared during her trial, the punishment is heavy, and when Eva volunteers to serve part of Halcyon's sentence, she's determined to find out exactly what happened. But as Eva begins her sentence, she quickly learns that there are fates much worse than death. You're welcome for me enlightening you to all these amazing books that are coming out this year. Also on the 23rd of June, Seasons of Storm is coming out, which is again a new fantasy series by El Cosimano. One cold, crisp night, Jack Summers was faced with a choice: live forever according to the ancient magical rules of Gia, or die. Jack chose to live, and in exchange he became a winter, an immortal physical embodiment of the season on Earth. Every year he must hunt the season who comes before him. Summer kills spring, autumn kills summer, winter kills autumn, and spring kills winter. Jack and Fleur, a winter and a spring, fall for each other against all odds. To be together, they'll have to escape the cycle that's been forcing them apart, but their creator won't let them go without a fight. Magic systems where people become the embodiments of seasons? pure genius. I'm like, excuse me, who gave you the right to be such a genius? Then on the 14th of July, Love is for Losers by Wipke Brueggemann. This is a really hard name to say, and this is again a queer romantic comedy, and this follows 15-year-old Phoebe realises that falling in love is maybe not just for losers. Did you know you can marry yourself? How strange / brilliant is that? 15-year-old Phoebe thinks falling in love is vile and degrading and vows never to do it. Then, due to circumstances not entirely in her control, she finds herself volunteering at a local thrift shop. There she meets Emma, who might unwittingly upend her whole theory on life. This is a laugh-out-loud exploration of sexuality, family, female friendship, grief and community, with the heart and hilarity of Netflix critically acclaimed Sex Education. This sex-positive debut is required reading for Generation Z teens. Think of this as Bridget Jones' Diary if it were written by Bridget's daughter. Now, the correlation to Sex Education from Netflix is what really sold me on this book, because I love that TV show, so I'm very excited for this if it's even slightly like Sex Education, because I love that show a lot. Then on the 18th of July, no, wait, am I dumb? What's the, August, it's August. It's August. I couldn't figure out what the 8th month was. On the 18th of August, The Nobleman's Guide to Scandal and Shipwreck by Mackenzie Lee is coming out. This is the 3rd book in the like Montague siblings series. This is the 3rd book after A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue and A Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy. And I'm very excited. This follows their like baby brother who was left as a nobleman and basically returned to the enchanting world of the Montague siblings in the finale, featuring a teenage Adrian Montague as he desperately seeks the now adult Monty and Felicity, the older siblings he never knew he had. The sole heir to his family's fortune, Adrian Montague desperately wants to be free from his father's high expectations, the grief of losing his beloved mother, and the constant war being waged inside his mind. Adrian was diagnosed with hysteria at a young age and is always being kept a secret, but when he has a breakdown at his engagement party, the public learns Adrian's worst fear: he might not be fit to run the Montague estate. Thankfully, Adrian is given an opportunity to avoid the impending scandal, a trip to the Caribbean to claim the last of his mother's possessions, but along the way Adrian discovers another secret lurking in his family tree. He is actually the youngest of 3 children. His sister Felicity and brother Monty went missing over a decade ago. Now Adrian has the chance to find them and offer to pass the estate back to the rightful heirs. Adrian expects to win his long-lost brother over with the promise of wealth and inheritance, while dreaming of a quiet life where Adrian doesn't feel like a burden to anyone. But when Adrian finally tracks him down, Monty refuses to return home. The only thing he convinced Monty of is to accompany him across the ocean as an act of tribute to their mother, hoping that during the voyage he can persuade Monty into taking the weight of inheriting the estate off his shoulders. When they reach their destination, Adrian and Monty find something hidden in their mother's belongings, a clue pointing to a valuable artifact that could potentially save the Montague siblings from a curse that threatens their lives. But to retrieve it, they must chase an infamous myth through the wild sugar fields of Barbados to the haunting streets of New Orleans to mysterious uncharted islands off the edge of the map. That was long, but it sounds incredible. I'm so excited. Oh, these books are making me so excited. I just want to read them. The dog's scratching at the door. Sorry dog, you can't come in because we're too busy talking about all the books we're gonna love, so. The next book is coming out on the 1st of September, and that is The Lost Book of the White, which is the 2nd book in the Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. The 1st book follows Magnus and Alec as they take a trip to Paris and then find out that Magnus might have accidentally started a cult. And then they have to figure that out, and it's the only Cassandra Clare book I've ever actually liked, and I give it 5 stars because it was incredible, and I'm super excited for the next book. Can't tell you what it's about because that would spoil the 1st book, but if you haven't picked up this series yet, I highly recommend it because I loved it a lot. Then on the 3rd of September, The Reckless Afterlife of Harriet Stoker by Lauren James is coming out. I've read and really enjoyed 2 of Lauren James's books this year, so she's just an author I'm really interested in, and the what's it called? The description really intrigued me anyway, so I'm super excited to read it. What if death is only the beginning? When Harriet Stoker dies falling from a balcony in a long abandoned building, she discovers a world of ghosts with magical powers, shape-shifting, hypnosis, or even the ability to possess the living. As she learns more about their community, Harriet is willing to do anything to unleash her own power, even if it means destroying everyone around her. But when all of eternity is at stake, the afterlife can be a dangerous place to make an enemy, because who knows what grudges people have been holding onto for a millennia, just waiting for a reckless girl to give them the chance to get revenge. Sign me up! That's just what I'm saying to all of these, is just sign me up. And then the 3 books that currently don't have a release date are the second book in the Dreamer trilogy by Maggie Stiefvater, that just says 2020, and that's the sequel to Call Down the Hawk, which I'm obviously super excited for because it was one of my favourite books of the year. And then The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab, also is just written as a 2020 release, and this follows a girl who makes a deal with a devil, which means she'll live forever but won't be remembered by anyone. Sounds stunning. If you read Victoria Schwab's own, I think she did like an Instagram post or a Twitter or a tweet about it, and it just sounded stunning. And also The Tower of Nero by Rick Riordan, the 5th and final book in the Trials of Apollo series, is coming out again just in 2020, and this is a series that follows Apollo, the god, as he is cast down to earth and has to save all 5 oracles that he is the god of, so that people can get prophecies again. And I'm so ready for this conclusion. I'm like, it's gonna be so good. I'm super excited for all of these books. I hope some of these books sound interesting to you and you're adding them to your TBR for this year. I just can't wait for any of these. I'm so excited. 2020 is going to be a really good year for books, and I'm so ready for it to begin. So thank you so much for watching. I would love it if you could subscribe. I'll be doing my best books of 2019, my worst books of 2019, etc, etc in the coming weeks, and I would love it if you could stick around. You can follow me on Twitter or Goodreads. I leave them down in the description box always, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again. If not, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, have a great winter. So yes, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!